live. Welcome, guys, to another live episode. So today's episode is going to be a little bit interesting. First thing first, I want to go ahead and start with a few announcements. If it is your first time, just do me a favor, hit the like button. If it's your first time, do me a favor as well and go ahead and hit the subscribe button because I've got a good show for you guys. So we're going to be talking about a few things. So you guys know if you are on Instagram, if you're on any social media, there's this huge craze. Everybody's going crazy and saying, you know what, I want to be a CEO. What, 9 to 5? 9 to 5? I don't want to do 9 to 5. Why would I want to do 9 to 5? I don't want to do 9 to 5. 9 to 5. Oh my God, no. I want to be the CEO. I want to be my own boss. I want to be the one taking the money because you know what's funny? So there's always a meme. They're like, you work 40 hours so that your boss gets all the money while he's sitting down there and he's playing golf on the golf course and you're just out there just working and that's all your job is. You're basically just out there working while your boss is making all the money. You should be the one. You should be a CEO. You should be making money. It's your money. I mean, here's the thing. You know what's funny is and I always share the stats, right? Is there's 26 million small businesses in America, so which means there's 26 million people who own businesses who are like, you know what? I am a CEO, boss, my whole stuff. But you also want to know the fun fact is more than 80% of those small businesses make less than 100 grand a year. So that means if you have a W-2 job or a job in which you're basically making, if you have a job where you're basically making anything more than 100 grand, and you're literally making more money than 80% of small businesses. So you're making more money than so-called CEOs. Now let's talk about a few things here because everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be a business owner. Let's see this, right? I personally, I've been in the pleasure of, I've had W-2 and I've also been in a situation where I've run my own business. I'll tell you this. We were running I'll be flat out with you guys. One of the businesses we ran, which was a very low ticket item, which I'm going to tell you guys, if you want to scale a low ticket business, then you need to think about it. Volume is key. What that means is if your product is a margin of $7, $8, then you need to be selling 1,000, 10,000, 15,000 to be able to actually make good money. So I'm not a big fan of low ticket items. I'm a big fan of high ticket items, is because high ticket items pay you much better commission. High ticket items are in a position in which you have more of a better ability and a better opportunity of actually making money than if you're in a position in which we're selling a low ticket item. Okay, if you guys are kind of getting the drift of where I'm coming from here, right? But what's an interesting stats? I want to go ahead and talk about this, right? Is how many people here know Warren Buffett? I'm pretty sure everyone here knows who Warren Buffett is. I was like, yeah, man, he's a genius investor. He's the guy in which, he invests in this. Everything he touches the gold. Berkshire Hathaway. Oh, my God, Warren Buffett. Of course, I know who Warren Buffett is. You know who Warren Buffett is? I know who Warren Buffett is. Okay, hold on. Let's relax, guys. But do you guys know that we're going to actually look at the math and look at the stats as to the numbers here as to Coca-Cola, famous company. This is a company which I don't even know how Coca-Cola makes money because all they do is they sell basically beverages, the Coca-Cola drinks and all the Coca-Cola products. But Coca-Cola, I want you guys to think about how much money Coca-Cola pays Buffett in dividend. And we're also going to be looking at how much money Coca-Cola pays its actual CEO. So I want you guys to look at this number. So let me go and pull this up. So the CEO of Coca-Cola, how much you guys think he makes? The CEO of Coca-Cola basically makes, are you guys ready for this? Drum roll, please. Drum roll. Which is James Quincy. James Quincy, which is the CEO of Coca-Cola. Let me go ahead and share my screen here really quickly. And you guys go and, so we can look at these numbers together. Which to me is it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. But the CEO of Coca-Cola, okay, we're going to look at everything, including bonuses. So the CEO of Coca-Cola, right, base pay is 1.6 million. With bonuses of 6.8 million, not equity, and then we have total cash compensation of 7.6 million. But his total compensation of annually is about 22.33 million. So about 22.3 million is what the CEO of Coca-Cola makes. You guys are like, whoa, 22 million? Oh my God, geez, that's a lot of money per year. Oh, what? Okay, now let's look at this. If the CEO of Coca-Cola makes 22 million, how much money do you think an investor, someone who invests in the company, not running the day-to-day operations, literally, he's just out there chilling, out on the golf course, playing golf, relaxing, living his life, and he's not out there being worried about the day-to-day matters. He's not out there being in the meetings. He's not out there saying, you know what, he's not getting the phone calls of stress. He just gave them money. And guess how much? Take a guess. You guys want to guess how much? You guys want to guess how much an investor? Let's look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, which is an investor in Coca-Cola, gets paid an annual dividend of $736 million. Hold on. You're like, whoa, okay. Somebody's like, oh my God, rich people, they're so rich, taking my money away. No, they're not taking your money away. They're just playing a different game than you are. Look at this, guys. The CEO of Coca-Cola makes 22.33 million. This is the guy getting the phone calls. This is the small business owner. This is the guy which is out there living sleepless nights. The average CEO works 65.6 hours per week, and they make 22.3 million. And you want to look at somebody who's just out there just chilling, collecting an annual dividend. Obviously, he invested a lot more, but he's collecting an annual dividend of 700. Let me say it again. Let me say it again, guys. 736 million in annual dividends. Okay, so that to me is a lot. And if you look at it, this is a company. That's one of the companies. Chevron pays Buffett 799. Berkshire Hathaway basically 799.7 million. Apple pays Berkshire 878 million. Bank of America pays Berkshire 908 million. Oh, we got better. Occidental Petroleum pays Berkshire 959 million. That's more money than the average American will see in 10 generations. But one man is making it. One man. And you're like, oh my God. How dare he? This is the rich people. Rich people are the problem. They're taking our money away. Tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. You could either say tax the rich, or you could be like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do it so I can actually do it myself. Because the thing is, this is you can be in a situation like, tax the rich, they're taking our money away. Or you could be in a position where you're like, hey, you know what? Actually, let me see what is the systems that they have in place. How are they able to make this much money? Because I'm an advocate, and I'll tell you guys straight up, I'm an advocate. Most people who are consuming this right now, you're watching this, you're either an employee somewhere, you're a C-suite executive, you're a business owner, you have a business, you're in a position of your own sales, you're in marketing, you're an insurance agent, you're in a position in which your job is basically to interact, to sell, to transact product. Okay? Now, we have to look at it from a perspective of, you ever heard the saying, work hard, hard work pays off. Listen, growing up, my dad used to be like, you need to work hard. You need to be in a position in which you're working hard. You need to be putting in long hours. You need to be this. And I'm like, and absolutely, I think 1,000,000% hard work is necessary for success, right? But let's look at it. We're going to look at a few instances, right? Let's look at it from a perspective of an entry-level job. You started an entry-level job. You put in 60 hours a week. Right, you put in 60 hours a week in an entry-level position. Let's say you started as in a law firm, basically pushing paper, whatever it is. 60 hours a week, you're making $3,000 a month. Okay. Now we have somebody else who is either a partner or someone else who's a higher end in whatever the company is, a manager, right? That puts in the same 60 hours a week, makes $15,000 a month. And then you have the owner of the company who puts in 40 hours a week, make 30,000 a month. And now you have someone who invests in the company that puts in, basically shows up for a meeting, that makes literally 70, 80 to 100,000 a month, and you're literally doing all the work. Investing is the key to wealth. I'm going to say right now, you will get a long way basically by your manual labor. You will get a long way by basically the skill sets that you acquire. But until you learn how to find good companies and good people to invest in, you will not be able to create wealth. Because here's the thing I want to say, guys. So to you, you will go fast in life if you go by yourself. You will go further in life if you go with others. Okay, let's think about it. That's where the importance of being a team. And guess what? I learned this from my barber. I had a haircut. He was telling me that. I was like, what? Now, what's interesting here, guys, is I want to tell you guys something, which is we're going to dive into this. We're going to dive a little deeper, because why is Buffett making this much money? Is Buffett smarter than you? Maybe, maybe not. But why is he making this much money? Why is he in a position in which there are people out there that are out earning you, and you're like, are they better than me? No, they're not better than you. They just do things completely different than you. One thing you got to look at is the amount of money you make is in direct proportion to the value you provide and the difficulty that there is in replacing you. I'm going to say it one more time. The amount of money that you make is in direct proportion to the value you provide and the difficulty that there is in replacing you. Let's look at it from a perspective of nurses, right? I know a lot of people in nurses. It's a very common population. I believe, 15% of population, something like that. Let's see, what percentage of Americans are in healthcare? I want to see this because I think it's 15%. Percentage of Americans, so 35.7% of people held public. The numbers are basically gonna come up at some point, but a huge majority of the population is, as far as workforce goes, will be in healthcare in sense of like, are they nurses, doctors, or in that situation they are pretty much in a position in which they are in healthcare. Okay. So, oh, it says here, nurses are the nation's largest healthcare profession. That's what I was saying. With nearly 5.2 million registered nurses nationwide. So think about it. Is 5.2 million. I want you guys to look at this, which is very interesting. Look at this. This is just basically a Google data that I looked at here. There's 5.2 million nurses nationwide. Of all not nurses, 89% are employed in nursing. Okay, so that's 5.2. Americans is usually about a population of about 356 or 352 million, and you have literally one less, about 1.3, 1.4% of that is nurses. So that's pretty much one of the largest professions there. And we're going to look at nurses from this perspective of, this is an example of the case study that we're going to look at, right? So we're going to look at it from a perspective of the average income. So I'm not a nurse, so I can't really comment on this, but we're going to look at the case study here of nurses. So the average income of a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant, which they do certified nursing assistant stuff, is like I said, I'm not going to dive into that. But if we're going to use a state, for instance, we're going to use the state of Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a major metropolitan city. So the certified nursing assistant in Charlotte, North Carolina, an example of a city and a state, makes about $34,552 annually. Okay, I want you guys to look at these numbers. Keep this number in the back of your head. They make about $34,552 on an annual basis. Now you're gonna think about it from a perspective. Okay, factor in a few things: years of experience, company they work at, state, and all that stuff. But the average training time to be a CNA, from my research, came into 6 to 15 weeks. So it takes 6 to 15 weeks to be a CNA, right? So in 6 to 15 weeks of training, you can make $34,000, which is honestly insane when you look at it. As the average income of Americans is usually about 36,000 to 52,000, depends on field, but you average out, people make 52 grand. And most of those people get a college degree. So they get a 4-year degree to make 50 grand when you can do 6 to 15 weeks of training. Just to think about 6 to 15 weeks, guys. 6 weeks is a month and a half. 15 weeks. So in 3 months, you literally can be making $30,000 a year for training. Just think about that. That's how insane it is. So they make about 6 to 15 weeks of training. They can make about $34,552 annually. Now, keep that in mind, okay? Because the reason why, I'm going to tell you guys a story. So a few weeks ago, it's probably been a few months now, I was in the airport and I was waiting for a flight to board, and I was having a conversation. I was doing some small talk because our flight was delayed by 3.5 hours. And there was this lady, we're having a conversation, and I was like, "What do you do?" She goes, "Oh, I'm a nurse." I'm like, "Oh, nice. You make the big bucks." She goes, "No, I don't make the big bucks. That's the RN. I'm a CNA." I was like, "Oh, cool. What is a CNA again?" She's like, "Well," she explains what a CNA was to me, and I'm like, "Okay, cool. All right, you're a CNA." So I'm like, "Why don't you go make the big bucks and be a nurse and make the big bucks?" She goes, "No, that's additional years of school, and I don't want to go back to school and have to go put myself through all that college and all that stuff to learn that. I don't want to do that. I just want to pretty much be, she's like, I'm too old. I'm too old for that." And she was probably I'll say maximum early 30s. Maximum early 30s, late 20s. I'm like, dude, we're almost like in the same age group. But she was like, yeah. So it was interesting. She was talking about that, and she was making about 30 grand a year. So then I did some research. And I'm like, okay, so she doesn't want to be an RN, right? Which is a registered nurse. So now my sister is a nurse, and she's watching this. Shout out to you, by the way. So she's watching this, and she has gone through years of schooling, and she's a nurse. Which also, guys, this is a plug. I'm gonna give a plug, guys. I'm gonna give a plug. If you guys know a great nursing facility that needs a phenomenal nurse, awesome. My sister's a great nurse. This is literally a plug for my sister right now. So if you guys have a great facility that's in a nurse, or you guys know someone who's a demand for a nurse, she is 100%. This is good convincing, because she's just furthering her education, becoming, I don't know, master nurse or some nurse, something, professor nurse. I don't know, but I want to kind of get her in a position in which she's actually doing something that I would say is for the most part, is beneficial, or rather pays more lucrative. So I'm just doing a plug. If anyone's looking to hire a nurse, my sister will be a great fit for that. So just go ahead and hit me up. You can either hit me up on Instagram. My Instagram's in the feed. You can go to @TheRealLeague, where you can hit me up on Instagram and say, "Hey, I know a good facility to hire nurses," and boom, this is gonna be a surprise for her. But back to it, I looked up how much money nurses made, because I'm like, why does this lady not want to be a nurse? And I looked at the math. Okay, she doesn't want to go to school for this. Okay, so we look at the math here, and we see this here. So registered nurses made a median salary, an average salary of $77,600 in 2021. The best paid 25% made $97,580 that year. So in 2021, the best nurse made almost 100 grand. Okay, so that is a 3x difference. Think about this, guys. It's a 3x difference in earning capacity. So you have somebody who's making 30 grand a year, and she's like, I don't want to go back to school. But then you have another person who's basically making almost 100 G's, 100 band, and you're like, okay, so what's the difference between these two people? Is it that one of them is smarter? No, it's just years of experience, right? And the degrees of training, basically the amount of training that's taken. So let's look at it from a perspective of how long does it take for you to actually be a registered nurse? Now, I'm not trying to push you guys to be a nurse. I don't want anyone to go be a nurse because most people are scared of blood. Most people are like, oh my God, germs. Oh my God. No, I don't want to be a no. Absolutely not. What? Now, the average time it takes to actually be a nurse is 2 to 4 years. So you need 2 to 4 years of college and all the fancy stuff that comes in it. So 2 to 4 years of college, and you can make almost 100 G's. Okay. Now we're like, okay, it doesn't stop there though, because I want you guys to. The point I'm trying to prove, we're trying to literally prove a case study of how several things affect your income. Now there's 5 point. I want you guys to. We're gonna look at this. So there's 5.2 million registered nurses. Okay. So now let's look at this. So how many? Let's look at it. How many CNAs are in America, in the US? Okay, so let's look at it from a perspective as well as to how many CNAs are in America. So if we look at the stats right now, we look at the stats right now. How many CNAs? So there are over 997,871 nursing certified nursing assistants employed in the United States. So we have 900. So we have roughly about 1 million CNAs, right? So we're gonna keep it math, right? We have 1 million CNAs. And then we have, as far as the nurses are, we have 1 million CNAs, and then we have 5.2 million RNs, right? Which is insane because you have more nurses. Now let's look at it from a perspective of what is we can dive deeper into the nursing field, but I mean, I think the next field is like the nurse practitioner or something. I honestly, it's like, I think it's a nurse. I think it's a how many? I think it's a nurse practitioner. I think that's the word I'm looking for. How many nurse practitioners in the United States? So there's 5.2 million RNs. There's 355,000 nurse practitioners in the U.S. So there's 1 million CNAs, 5 million RNs, 350,000 nurse practitioners. So the average income, okay, we're looking at is literally income of nurse practitioners in the US. Okay, you guys literally seen this research from me because I'm kind of going off script here. So the average income of nurse practitioners is roughly more than 100 grand. So right now we're looking at this. If we look at salary.com, the average nurse practitioner is making in North Carolina, for instance, is making about $122,197. So let's look at it from a perspective. You're 1 million CNAs. Okay. I know you guys like, Emmanuel, this sounds like you're preaching about nursing. I'm not. I just kind of want you guys to understand the point here. So there's 1 million CNAs, and out of the 1 million CNAs, they're making about 30 grand. You have 5 million RNs making about 70 to 100 grand, and you have 350,000 nurse practitioners making more than 100 grand, right? And that's all in various degrees to your education. Now let's look at the doctors. How many doctors are there in the United States? There's not that many doctors either. But you want to know what's also interesting about the doctors? How much is the salary of a doctor? How much does a doctor make? How much is a surgeon? How much does a doctor, like a general practitioner doctor, how much does a general practitioner doctor make? Okay. Now we're looking at it from a perspective of income earning. The reason why I'm trying to look at income earnings is because I want to prove a point. There's one point that I want you guys to see. There's one point, and to prove this point, it's to you guys understand the point I'm trying to make. Then you pretty much have to go through the process for me. So look at this. The average physician general practitioner, which is somebody who you just checking, your physician, makes about $217,000. Okay, so now we're looking at it, 217,000. Now let's look at it from a perspective of how many years of schooling is required. Right? It's 217. They make about 217,000. Now the years of schooling required is 10 years. 10 years of schooling. Okay, so you got to look at it. The amount of time you spend educating, almost there's a correlation between your education and your income. You learn more, you earn more, right? The CEO, it's not saying that the CEO doesn't learn more. The thing is, the CEO is learning, but the difference is the CEO is not really, it's not in a sense as to they're learning about one subject matter, right? Which is the company. But the main thing is they're not focused on a point in which they're only leveraging your time. They're getting paid for their time. Investors use their money to make more money. CEOs use their time and basically their position for the most part to make the money. But investors for the most part use their money to make more money. So you got to get to a point in which money is working for you versus you working for the money. The reason why Buffett gets paid 730 million annually from Coca-Cola versus the CEO that makes 22 million is the CEO is selling his time, Buffett is selling his money. Two different things for you to look at, right? Now, you got to look at it from also another perspective. Here's this is to, we're not done yet, guys. We're not done yet because the last point I want to prove here is this: as far as income, how much does a general surgeon make? A general surgeon, okay? How much does a general surgeon make? A general surgeon makes roughly around $411,900. Okay, keep this in mind. Makes about $411,900. So you guys see, but how many years do they need to spend in school? 13 years. They need to spend 13 years learning to be able to make 400 grand. So now that tells you something, right? You're like, people that don't like, I don't want to learn about anything. I don't want to go ahead and educate myself. I don't want to go ahead and read a book. I don't want to go ahead and have a mentor. I don't want to go ahead and get a course. I don't want to go ahead and I don't want to, whatever you don't, I don't want to, whatever it is that you don't want to do. You got to understand that that thing is hindering you, because to make more money in life, you have to go out there and get educated. You got to go out there and educate yourself. The difference between, someone who makes more in your field and you is just years of experience. There's other factors. Most people might be like, well, they didn't hire me because I'm this. They didn't do this because I'm that. Honestly, those are factors that are beyond your control. You can complain about it, or you can go to somewhere else that will value you for who you are. That's kind of the way I look at things. It's not everyone's going to value you for who you are. So go wherever it is that you're valued, right? So you got to look at it so the point I'm trying to make is I want you to look at it from a perspective of the amount of money that you are making and you will make is in pretty much direct correlation to your education and the difficulty that there is in replacing you. Okay, so now we kind of get a little better. So pretty much you got to understand you have to provide more value, but as you provide more value, you got to be pretty much increasing what's up here in between your ears, your head, this thing right here, and your skull, your mind, your brain, your medulla oblongata of the gata, whatever the lata, that's that stuff. You got to keep learning, right? So I want you guys to take a look at this. So this is from Buffett himself, because Buffett was a case study that I wanted to talk about today. So this is the case study I wanted to talk about today. So I want you guys to take a listen to what Buffett pretty much has to say. And based off of this case study, pretty much let's see what your opinion is, right? So Buffett reads, I want you to hear it from him himself, how many hours he reads per day, okay?
How do you keep up with all the media? How do you keep up with all the media and information that goes on in our crazy world and in your world of Berkshire Hathaway? What's your media routine?
I just read and read and read. I probably read 5 to 6 hours a day. I don't read as fast now as when I was younger, but I read 5 daily newspapers. I read a fair number of magazines. I read 10Ks. I read annual reports, and I read a lot of other things too. So I've always enjoyed.
How do you keep
So you look at it from a perspective of, okay, he said a few things. I've always enjoyed reading. Most people don't like reading. Most people in a position like, oh my God, read? You want me to read? What? There's a saying that if you want to hide something from someone, just literally put it in between the pages of a book. The pages of a book. And they'll be like, yeah, sorry, bro. It's not, no, I can't pick up a book and read, because just genuinely most people don't like to read. Most people are not in a position. They're like, they're not focused on reading. They don't want to read because of, I don't know, whatever it is that's going on in your life. But if you stop learning and stop educating yourself, that's honestly, you're limiting yourself. We're seeing the position in the fact that it takes time to make the amount of money that you want to make. Buffett didn't just start getting paid $736 million as a dividend investor. No, in dividends as an investor. No, he didn't just start getting paid $736 million. He had to do the time, but the main thing is he has to learn. And as I pretty much do the study, it just baffles me even more when I find out that the average person, we're going to look at the statistic data here, that the average person literally spends less than 15 minutes a day reading, less than 15 minutes a day. Okay, so we look at the stats here. Basically, this is based off of age. We're breaking it down, and this is hours. So if you look at people which is very, very interesting. So people under between the ages of 15 and 19 spend roughly, at the maximum as of 2023, they spend less than 21 minutes per day reading. Okay, and people between the ages of 20 to 24 as of the year 2022, it's 2022, my bad, spend 18 minutes. And then people between the ages of 25 to 34 spend about 15 minutes. This is any book for the most part. And then 35 to 44 spend about 16 minutes. And on average, you kind of have it at 16 minutes. And then it kind of, as people get older, they get a little more, 24. And then you have retirees reading at 51 minutes to 67 minutes, right? So you're looking at it from the statistics of people spend right now in the current day and age. Most of the audience watching this are between the ages of 24 to 34 years old. So you're spending about 15 to 16 minutes reading a book. And then you're like, well, Emmanuel, I'm busy. I got my life going on for me. I'm always working. I got kids. You got any kids, man? You're talking about reading. I got kids. You're like, well, you got this. You working. I work long hours too. Here's the reality of things, and you got to kind of keep in mind as to excuses don't help me. It doesn't help you either. It might help you feel good and justify you not taking action. If you say, oh my God, man, I got my kids, man. I got 7 kids, because I'm busy, so, I was busy making the 7 kids. So I got my 7 kids. So because I got 7 kids, I can't read a book. Now look at it from that perspective. I want you to pretty much look at it from that perspective. Now you're making the kids, you're blaming the reason why you're not furthering your education on the kids, but the kids did not choose for you to have them. Right? I want you to think about it, right? Or you go, well, I got 5 jobs, so I can't really do anything. Well, now you're blaming the job for you not moving forward. You see, whatever you say is the reason you're not doing anything means you're giving it power over you. All right. When you say your kids are the reason why you can't do anything, you're saying that your kids, you're blaming your kids. And when you get older and you're in your 50s or 40s and your kid is just out there playing in the streets and you're like, Timmy, why are you out there playing in the streets? You should be reading your book. You should be out there studying. You're not stupid, Timmy. You should be out there doing this. And Timmy's like, Dad, you never studied. I never saw you study, Dad. You don't even know how to read. Right? You cannot expect anything from them, especially when you are blaming them, because that's what most people use, especially because, you know yourself. You know yourself. You know yourself as you listen to this. You know yourself. And you're like, oh my God. Yeah, listen, if this is you and you're feeling guilty about this, then that's perfectly fine. Then understand it and come to a conclusion and say, you know what? If I want to get something done, I'm just going to wake up early. I wake up at 5 a.m. versus 9 a.m. I wake up at 4 a.m. versus 7 a.m. I wake up an hour early and get the amount of learning and reading done that I need to do. You'll be surprised if you just wake up an hour earlier than you normally wake up and say, I'm just going to use that time to read about the job that I currently do. You'll be surprised when you show up and they're like, yo, Joe, you're like, you, dude, how long have you been here, man? You're pretty smart at this. Because the thing is this is people will tell you you're pretty smart or you're good at something when in reality you just woke up early and you just read. People are like, Manuel, you're so smart. You know all the subject. You know about taxes. You know about real estate. You know about crypto. You know about this. You know about business. You know about insurance. I'm like, yeah, I just love to read. I read. And then if I have questions, I reach out to people that I can get on the podcast to educate me about the stuff that I don't know. Why do you think I bring podcast guests on? I bring podcast guests on because I'm like, I want to learn too. I'm there for much for my educational purposes as it is for your educational purposes. You guys are just witnessing the whole process. So you cannot be in a position where you're like, oh, well, I could make much more money, but I have to go to school. We got to think about it from a perspective of this as to what are you doing with that downtime? What? What are you doing with that downtime? If you're not living the life, because everyone has a vision of their future. Everybody has a vision for the future. I have a vision of my future and I'm not living it. And I'm like, Emmanuel, you're not living it. What do you got to do to fix it? That's the same way and the same concept that you have to apply in your own life as we currently speak. There is no room for slacking. There is no room for failure. You cannot be a subscriber or follower or someone who listens to my content and be a loser. I'm speaking to you. Okay? I'm speaking to you right now. You cannot be someone who does it and be a loser. That's not what you're destined. That's not what you're here in life for. You're here to win, and we win. That's what we do is we win. So you're either winning or you're winning. And if you're losing, it's because you're learning. But I can't say the word. I was about to say the word, but I can't say the word. We fill in the blank, win. Fill in the blank with your favorite curse word. Win. We fill in the blank trick, win. We fill in the blank, win. I can't say the word because I mean, this is a kids-friendly show, so I can't say all that stuff. But yeah, you can DM me on Instagram at the really great, and I will tell you the word that I was gonna say. But other than that, that's pretty much it, guys. So don't be the CEO, be the investor. But the most important thing as well, I gotta understand is if someone gave me, because people ask this question, Emmanuel, I had a guy I was talking to, he's like, if you had $2,000, what would you do? I have $2,000 right now saved up, man. I was thinking about putting into like a stock or like some business, man. Bro, what do you think I should do, man? I was like, dude, what's $2,000? You saved up $2,000? I was like, you're still broke. He's like, yeah, man, but the $2,000 I get, bro, you're still broke. It's $2,000. Okay, it's inflation out here. It's $2,000. Okay, $2,000 is not gonna do anything. Okay, what I would recommend, if you have less than 10,000 saved up, invest in your education, invest in yourself, invest in your skill sets, pick a niche, pick an industry that you can get good at, and then invest in getting the knowledge and expertise that's needed to be good in that industry. Then go for it. But don't go and put $2,000 into a stock. Don't do that. No. You think Buffett just takes, oh yeah, I'm Warren Buffett. I got $2,000. I'm just gonna take $2,000 and put in stock. No, I'll take $2,000 to learning about the stock market first before I put any money in it. Invest in, because let me tell you, the success is 90% knowledge and 10% skill. I'm going to say it again. Success is 90% knowledge and 10% skill. I get emails, which people reach out to me for partnerships, which is fine. If you want to reach out to me for partnership, reach out to me for partnerships. But the most important thing is when people join in an industry, like, which is so funny is I used to be in the life insurance industry, and this was 100% my fault. When you join an industry, you need to do the research in the industry. What are the competitors in the industry? What's the average success rate in the industry? What are the key reasons why people don't buy in the industry? What are the reasons in which I will quit? I might quit in this industry. What are the pros and cons? What are the things I'm gonna have to do? Do I have to compromise in things? You don't do your research and then you get into the industry and you don't make it, and you're like, oh my God, it's the industry's fault. The industry is the reason why I'm not living the life that I want to live. It's the industry's fault. That's the reason why I'm not out there in a Lamborghini. It's the industry's fault. It's the reason why I'm not out there in a Bugatti. It doesn't, listen, it's your fault. Listen, I know I'm kind of going off at the tangent. I'm in a really, really good mood. I did a really great workout today. Did some boxing, got some cardio out there, throwing some hands. But that's pretty much I got for you guys. Listen, subscribe to the channel. I see you if you're not subscribing. I see you. It's a new feature in YouTube where I can see you watching it and not subscribing. Just kidding. But do me a favor. Share this video with someone if you believe this video is of value to them. Share it with them. And these guys know I goof around. I play around a lot. But the reason why I goof around is because I got to be entertaining. If I'm some boring guy you watching YouTube, you'd be like, oh my God, so boring. But I'm entertaining. That's what we do. It's a pleasure, everyone, to bring this message to you. And obviously, enjoy your day, whatever time of day in which you're watching this. Have fun. And remember, invest in yourself first, then invest in the knowledge, and keep investing and keep educating yourself, because you gotta understand it's a journey. But as you understand it's a journey, you get to that 13-year journey. Now you, my friend, are making $411,000 in whatever industry that you're in.